All right. 6:30, calling to order the Monday, April the 8th, Committee of the Whole Admin and Operations meeting. The next item on our agenda is the approval of our agenda. I need to move in a second if there are no errors, omissions, or any discussion. So moved, second, all in favor? Okay, disclosure of pecuniary interest, conflict of interest in the general nature thereof. Anyone have a declaration?
None by me.
Hearing none. Out of the minutes that are there, does anyone have any business arising from any of those minutes? Nope. Good. Karen, you're good? Yeah. Okay, good job.
Yeah, I'm all good.
Okay, and so on to delegations and presentations, which I don't believe there is any. Then it's consent agenda. And so there are two things under consent agenda. One is the first quarter bylaw report. The other is the first quarter operations report. Items that are listed under consent agenda are considered routine and no longer require further discussion or enacted more motion. The exception of this rule is that any member may request that one or more of the items be pulled for discussion and voted on separately. Does anyone want to be pulled? Okay, I need to move her then to the recommendation. Moved by Chris and by Joe. Discussion on why this isn't for consent agenda. All in favor? Good, then we're on to scratch B. Discussion item, first one is 7A, which is community grants and donations. I'm gonna look to staff because this is always such a wonderful discussion. Actually, it is, all joking aside, it's a wonderful discussion. It's just always a difficult discussion because there's far more need than there is dollars. So, do you have any suggestions? I mean, I know I have some, but you're going to be the kindergarten teacher tonight, so.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It might be worthwhile if there are any of the requests that there's general consensus on, not receiving any funding. Those could be removed and then, start to the process down.
Okay. So you want to do it that way? Bear with me, I've got one here somewhere. Well, Friends of the Library is on there for $0 in in-kind only. I mean, so we're automatically approval of all of the in-kind, correct? Or is, like, I know last year there was no discussion on it. We were just told that in-kind was good. I noticed in the discussion there were a couple didn't meet criteria. Are we expected to discuss it, or are we just going to move it through?
I think there's a couple areas that didn't meet that, and what the in-kind is typically delegate to the staff will determine whether that's something that can be managed. So the majority of the in-kind that has been submitted would be approved, but there are some of those areas that are just they're not what we would consider typical. More so.
So do we want to clean those up at the end of this, or do we?
I think it's better to clean those up at the end.
All right. So if my way of doing this was I went through everything. There was only one thing in my mind that I didn't fund a dollar amount, and we certainly can if it's the group, but I only had one that didn't get anything at all, and that was the St. John's United Choir. That was my only one that I didn't add or I didn't give anything to. I think I have the deputy mayors as well. I know. Oh, sorry, I forgot to say that at the start of the meeting. He is he's a little under the weather. Obviously, if you know Steve well, he would certainly be with us online if he had the ability to be here. He couldn't be. I had a lengthy discussion with him this morning regarding he sent them I know how he feels. I know he isn't here to vote on it. But, you know, he does have input, and I know I've been absent for this exact discussion before. And, you know, I sent mine in and I felt it was relevant that at least my words were heard. So I can do that on Steve's. So. Yeah, I think Steve had a couple that he didn't put in. I don't think he did either of the churches. I think that was pretty much it for him, that he didn't do anything. Anyone else want to go, Jody?
I was not super high on any of the church requests. When the Mill Foundation for 10 grand seemed high. My thought was to eliminate who we could and then just mathematically do the rest. But you know, if we've got enough to cover 40% of the ask, give everyone 40% of what they asked for. It's quickly easier to use with one swoop.
It's certainly, I don't know that you're gonna get my support on that, but I think, I think I'm gonna wanna weight some differently than 40%. I'm gonna want to support a few things.
I'm not
much
saying
higher than that, but
saying whatever
Sure.
the dollars came out to.
yeah, I think, also, and maybe I should have started this way, is I just wanna make 100% sure that I'm clear. We've already approved the support for the 7,500 and the 12,000, or the 12,500.
It's, through the chair, it's in the budget,
It's in the budget.
however, it's always up for
Right.
discussion.
Okay, but it's not part of the 30,000. Right, okay. Okay, so that's good. And the second part that I wanted, like, this is just throughout the year. We have 30,000 to allot tonight. Throughout the year, we manage many requests that necessarily aren't included in this list tonight, and there's several, you know, that we get. We'll probably get Angel Tree. We'll probably get some other ones that often one of us will go to staff and say, hey, is there any way that we can have a discussion about this, so that maybe we can support, you know, this or something else. My idea, or at least my thought when I went through them, was to keep, you know, between around 5,000, I think is what I ended up keeping behind, so that if those requests came along, we would have it to support them without going outside of the budget or just saying it. And I know that maybe others feel differently. They want to these people actually took the time to, you know, to put their requests together, and we want to fund them fully. That's fine too. That's the discussion we have here. But for me, I'd rather keep a little bit, just to support some of those ones that, you know, we may have missed. I noticed there's no agricultural society on here. There's just a few that I thought were glaring misses. So, anyone else? Before we start?
Well, so I had a question first of all, and it'll hurt me to ask it, but I am. So the Spencerville Mill Foundation did not put their complete evaluation form in for last year. Did it do it at all, or is it just late?
Through the chair, it was received, but I believe it was just received late. Within that timeline.
Okay, sounds good from that perspective then. And then I took the approach, there was a few that I really wanted to make sure we supported to their ask.
Just a second.
Yep.
Do you have any other zeros? Then we'll come back to you.
No, I was gonna do a similar approach to what Councilor Martel was doing, except there was ones that I wanted to think about first.
Yeah. And no zeros? Okay.
Well, that was the one you already mentioned.
I think there may be a couple on the church requests. Karen, sorry, I skipped you. My mistake. My bad. Sorry.
Yeah, I had them.
Yeah.
And then the other one is the big brothers and big sisters. I know they're pretty heavily funded, I think, on United Way, so I don't know.
So you had it scratched off.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. I had a small amount going to them, so. Well, I wanna lobby a tiny bit, you know, for the United Church in Spencerville. And it's not that I certainly wanna support that to the full amount. I know it sounds like everybody else wants to take it off, and if that's, that maybe, that's fine. My thought though is that if there is equipment that they need to be able to run events that are gonna benefit our community, put on some dinners to fundraise for our community, in Spencerville, and have the hall open and available, you know, at least that's the way it was presented to us. That it would be helpful if they could do some of those things and give back a little bit. So to me, if that was the case, I certainly didn't want to exclude them because it didn't, well, it's a church that's doing the ask. It didn't really seem like it was a church related ask to me. You know, it wasn't just for the church. The idea was that they were gonna run. That's the way that so that was why I left it.
So through the chair, and I agree with that. That was one of the ones on my list that I would like to support. You know, as close as we can to the request, because it is also the home of the Spencerville Food Bank, and they do a lot of events to help out that as well. And it just made sense to make sure we had, you know, part of this was a lot of it's the safety equipment, for instance, and also, like I said before, having been a volunteer there for doing the pancake dinner for the last few years. That 60-watt power probably is a unique one, right? So, you know, that's one that I thought was important because it is a local thing that it's used a lot in the community of Spencerville to help support a lot of community events.
I've 100%. So, so if we can leave it on for now, and if it ends up getting taken off, it gets taken. So there's a couple of us that are there, maybe in the end, we can convince the others at the table that it should stay.
So is your, am I correct, then as it is right now, St. John's, the church choir and St. Paul's and church bell are both off? Or
So for me, the only one that I didn't personally have anything allotted to was the choir. I don't know if anybody else did, but I didn't for that one. I felt again that the St. Paul Anglican Church certainly does a lot of, you know, good work in the community, and I thought that the money might actually be somewhat resourceful. I didn't have the full amount of the ask in, but I did have a small amount attributed there, so I didn't have it as a zero. I didn't have it as a zero.
so is it just the St. John's choir, that's the zero?
Are you zero? What are you zeros on?
I had them all at zero. You had my Nixon church.
You had them all?
I have all zero.
You had them all at zero?
The churches? No,
So you had some, you had some, so the only one Waddy had is the choir. So there's no consensus on the other two, just the choir.
Just the one.
Yeah,
Okay,
there we are. Oh, 15 minutes and we got one.
so,
Do you want me to try to?
might I suggest,
The easy ones?
well, are there requests that there's consensus from everyone that we now ask for should be received?
Okay, so for me, for full amounts, bear with me, I didn't have many. I had a couple. So I had the food bank was a full for me. The next one that I had as a full was the bait fuel fishing tour. I had that one as full. I had the Cardinal Festival Committee as full. I had Sierra actually is full as well. And the the Silk Grenville leadership I had as the full 1,000 as well. Sending future leaders to that leadership camp, seeing how well they use that money and the group that's there and watching what they've been doing with it. I think it's a fantastic $1,000 spent to create the next generation leaders. So for that one, that was an easy full 1,000.
Would there be consensus on any of those?
So, looking through, and again, not that Steve's totally matters, but. Oh wait, that's good number. No, I don't screw it up. On the page requests, under supporting youth services. So it works out to be page 13 of 128. I didn't actually notice that when I went through it. The South Grenville District High School ask there is 2,000, and on the spreadsheet it's 1,000. So, while Candace is confirming that, I will, I'll just say what Steve's were, if that's helpful at all. I think his first full was, the fishing tournament. He gave the full to South Grenville District High School. He used the $2,000 value for that one. And I think that's the only one that he was folding.
So just for clarity, Mr. Mayor, the ask this year is 1,000.
Is 1,000?
Because
I think last year was 2,000.
I
We gave
believe
1,000.
last year was 2,000, and I anticipate that.
Yep, and so the ask this year was what they got last year.
Correct.
Okay, so then there's definitely two of us that are supported, that again, not that Steve's counts, but I just want to make sure that his voice is heard.
I had my check off.
Tired everyone. Go on a full.
No, I had a couple. This one here, I had 1,000.
For the South Grenville, yeah, and you're fine.
So for the South Grenville, yeah, I had 1,000 for South Grenville.
Let's stick with South Grenville just for a sec. It just sounds like we're on our way there. I do, Chris does, Waddy does.
I did not, but
You
I
did, or you can support it, and
I did not, or I can support.
so there's already consent, there's already 3, so let's go with South Grenville for 1,000. That one's done. There you go.
I had the food bank as well, Mr. Mayor.
Future leaders, support them. All right, Chris wants to go to the food bank. Waddy? Okay, that's 2. Joe, you didn't have anything at full.
I did have anything in full, no.
Can you get your brain on that? No? Okay,
I
Karen?
have food bank.
you had food bank at full? Okay, so food bank's good. We're 10% of the way. All right, does anyone else have one that's full?
Cardinal Festival Committee, I had it full.
I think I did as well. I think. That's 3. Joe, you didn't? Can you get your brain around that one?
Which one are we talking about?
Festival committee,
Curtains, that's-
Yeah, absolutely.
Karen?
I didn't, but that's fine.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so that one's good. Anyone else? I think that's it.
Oh, you mean the full?
In full. Okay, Waddy has the Bluegrass Festival is full. I had it at 5,000. Where are you?
I had a ratio of the balance.
Okay, Joe?
I'm still listening.
Karen?
I had it at 3, the Bluegrass Festival.
Okay, so we're kind of all over the map. 3, 5, 6.
3.
What did we give last year on that one to the staff? I don't wanna scroll.
Just bear with me for.
Wadi was here.
We granted them, $2,250.
Okay. And that was the full ask?
That was not the full out, that was $250 less.
2,500, but we had half the dollars last year to do it. We don't have 15,000. Okay. All right. Why do you weighed in? Joe, you haven't weighed in. Everybody except
The
you.
way I did the exercise, I didn't pick numbers there, as I said, I just tried to split everything evenly that was left.
Okay, so give me a number.
2,000.
2?
Yeah.
Can we come back to it? We're from 6,000 to 2,000. We're all over the
That's
map.
the biggest event.
So speak up.
The reason I'm asking for the full amount is because it's the biggest event that's held in Spencer. It draws the most people. Just for the community and everything else. That's my reading from what.
I will echo that, and I, you know, the amount of dollars that it brings outside of the festival itself is very large for Spencerville. But I will add, last year, the province also added, I think it was another 5 or another 7,000 on top of what we had given them last year as well. And to the best of my knowledge, they haven't qualified for any of that extra funding this year. So this might make up for a tiny little bit of that, but it's certainly for dollars, to me, it's dollars well spent. I think that they do a fantastic job up there. That's all the lobbying that I'm gonna do. If you guys don't wanna come up, then we're stuck at 30.
Sorry.
But
You could go with the.
can we move on to a different one then and come back to that in the end? Just to see if we can get, we're not on consensus there, so we wanna give it something, but a dollar value, I don't think we're at. We may keep moving.
Yeah, I think.
It's gonna take a while, so.
Well, yeah, is there any other requests that? Looking at full, but if not, then.
So I think the only other one that, you know, like for me, I had big fuel at the fishing tournament at full, and the deputy mayor did as well. Again, it doesn't count, but just pointing out, so you do as well?
I didn't, but I can understand that. I can support that.
I agree. I think it's, we worked hard, I mean, and from Steve's standpoint, he's really pushed hard for 3 or 4 years to get it there. You know, it was fantastic last year. It wasn't as well attended as we'd like, but I'd like to see them still come, and I'd like to see us get where it can be. If it doesn't materialize into bringing in tourism dollars and some revenue, then, you know, we'll have to have that discussion in another couple of years, but I think it's worth it.
So that was my concern. It's cool, you know, but what is it actually?
Yeah.
No one has come up to me and said, hey, we really do well because that was in town and everything.
Yeah, the perception is that it will, and that it does, but I think it needs, in my eyes, it needs a little bit more time to, last year was the first time. I don't think a lot of people, you know, knew that it was coming. It seemed to be a little,
I agree with you.
you know,
It's something we need to piggyback on, and make it
Find
more than just the guys in the water.
for sure. I hear you 100% on that. So I am Steve is, Waddy is, Chris can be, Joe isn't, but can get his brain to some value. And Karen, where are you?
I was not, but I can certainly. Go with the full amount.
So I have You two and me.
I do fish. I fish a lot.
Well, you should.
I do.
All right, so I think we can add that as full too. There's consensus enough on that to get us where we need to be. Fast youth, autumn, bluegrass, we discussed. I think we can all agree on the Friends of Library for 0. That was the ask, by the way, Veronica, sorry. Just being a smarty pants.
What the hell, Mr. Mayor?
So I believe the ask is 1,000, I think. The ask of Prescott is 1,000 and the ask of Augusta is 1,000 as well. And I think we've agreed, or sort of everybody's doing 500, is that's sort of the thought process is 500?
Yes, it could, when, let's say December-ish, November, December-ish, we were,
Sort of talk
we,
about it
we, we would talk about it at,
for here. So if there's somebody who strongly wants to go with 1,000, then they can make the argument, I think. You know, as it's been discussed before, at the tri municipal group sort of supports it all, but about the same, just is the $500 $500. So. Good with that? Okay, so Karen, yeah, Chris? Sure, yeah. Good. So 5 bills, then to that one. What's that? Good. Okay. I also had Sierra at 1,500. I don't know if there was anybody else who was on with that or not. No, not Sierra. I need somebody to speak.
Well, I had that one for a ratio of the balance, to be honest, which. If I do some math, it's gonna get around 40 to 45% or something of that number.
So you're looking at 750 at max.
That's what I have.
Max, yeah, somewhere in that.
Karen, 750 max.
750.
Okay, that's 2 at 15, 2 at 750. Where are you go?
I'm gonna go with 750. Your worship.
So Steve doesn't count. Although, I mean, it was up to him. They got Steve is at on his was at 750 as well. So
Geez, I wish I put this in Excel line out. We're getting close to the, let's say 50% for the rest would be fine, I think. I'm not quite there.
I don't want to do it.
That's fair.
I don't have any interest in saying, oh, well, we're not going to do our job and do it that way.
That's what I'm
Well, it's not necessarily we're not doing our job, there's an equality in it for everyone, right?
Is there?
Everybody's getting the same percentage.
But what, don't, like, it's community dollars, like some of these don't, like, they're, with all respect to some of them, they're not in our township. Like, they're ones that don't.
Crossing out the ones that we just don't want to, and then we're equally sharing the rest, it's fair for everyone.
Yeah, I completely don't see it that way, not at all. I don't see it as doing, I personally don't see it. I support some of them differently, so. Which is fine, I mean, we're all entitled to our opinion, so we got to 750 on Sierra? We did agree to that? Yes? Okay.
I got voted for Steve.
So did I. The guy who's not here about the building. Do we want to go up the list or down the list?
Might as well start right at the top.
Okay, so we said yes. Are you keeping the spreadsheet? I'm keeping the numbers here at this point.
we're,
You got it.
we're working away at attempting to keep the spreadsheet up to date.
All right, so then let's go with rural fast. Then last year, I think the ask was for 1,000. And we did 500. So, I had them at $500 again this year. Anyone else?
I have about 1,000.
Me too.
What?
I'll go with 500.
Okay, Joe?
I'd go with 1,000.
1,000 it is.
And so it's currently we're going top to bottom,
Yeah. I started over at the top.
that's fine.
I figured it's better to get some of these bigger number ones out of the way.
Things are right down.
The FSD was 1,000.
Yep.
RNJ services. Mine was 1,000.
I have 1,000.
I can live with 1,000. No,
I had a few thousand, but I felt bad for their plight, to be honest, but
You got yourself to 1,000. So 1,000 for that one. So then Beth Donovan Hospice, I had at 500.
I have another 1,000.
me too.
Joe? 750?
Yeah, 500 it is.
Are you going to the 5 or are you going? Alright, so 500 wins then. Very nice. I tried for 750. Alright, does anyone want to take a kick at the Bluegrass Festival?
I
Yep.
think we went
So-
to the 6.
We went 6, 5, 3, 3, 2,
And I can
Steve's at 5 for what matters.
feel good about going it before.
Do we have to do these again at council? Because that may change the outcome of this discussion. I hate to be that way, but it really could,
So,
because we have to approve this at council. Steve comes in and says 5. I can't say that I won't agree with him.
well, I think, Mr. Mayor, what the final numbers are, out of committee, will come forward as a resolution at council.
Right.
No different than any other recommendation.
And Steve will be back at the table at that point as well. So I think he'll support whatever we do decide tonight regardless. I don't want to hold that over on one's head, but if there is something that he feels strongly about, he'll have his say on council night. So it may change these numbers a slight bit one way or the other.
So, I would say that without full, council here at the committee, it's certainly not an item that we would put on consent.
Right, yeah, it'll be, well, somebody will pull it. Yeah.
But I would,
All right, does somebody else want to take another stab at Bluegrass?
like I said, I can come around to 4,000, to be honest. I know I said 3, but I'm okay to go another 1,000. Closer
What
to
were
you
you
guys.
guys 2 before?
Yeah, I could come up to 3, that's half, that's 50% of the half.
Moved to 3. Waddy. All right, I'm fine with it. I can get to 3. You coming down? Are you staying at 6?
No, I'm gonna stay at 6.
I think that one's probably gonna be the one that'll change it, council. I just. I think we can agree on whatever number we agree with tonight, but I think. My vote's probably gonna change, so.
So, as it stands right now, it's a placeholder, we have 3,000.
Tonight at this discussion, just for agreeing upon a number, but I think that number's gonna change. I hate to say it that way, but I'll go back to 5. Steve's got 5 written on his paper and Waddy's said 6, so that's three votes for somewhere between 5 and 6 and 2 for 3, so. I mean, I get how it's gonna go here tonight, but that'll. Can't predict that's how it's gonna go, but I'm gonna guess that's how it's gonna go.
Yes, I think we need to have numbers there, so we have an idea, right?
Yeah.
From the comfort level.
Yeah.
Where we're at.
Well, I'm fine to get it done, to get this discussion, and continue moving along at 3, but I do think that. We have to make that consideration that that number would very well may change. Did we agree on SBCC or no? I had it at 2. And the only reason that I put two was almost all of us. One person still has to do it. Donated our faces for a fundraiser. That did raise roughly $3,000. So to me, that 3,000 that we already pitched in our faces for, plus the 2,000 here makes 5,000. So that was how I justified the full ask was, you know, by doing the 2,000. So, but that's, again, just me. So if anyone else feels,
I had a question mark beside it, so I'm 2,000.
I had three, but you know, your logic makes sense. Your kung fu is good.
I can get to 3. So like,
Well,
I
I think
think,
about three for now.
I think those that run festivals do, you know, between Cardinal, you know, Sierra here in Johnstown and Spencerville, I think they're doing a fantastic job. We want to see more tourism. We want to see more community involvement. It's a council mandate. Supporting it at a little bit higher. I certainly will get my brain there, but I figured my face was probably already five a lot, so. You said,
I can go to 3.
you said 2 or 3, you're fine, Joe.
I stepped away from that delegation
Oh,
one,
because of-
Sierra, so I'm gonna staying on this one.
I have it down to 25, so that's fine. If you
That's
want to
good.
go 2, that's fine.
Let's go 3.
Perfect. Then do that.
I don't think Steve will have a problem. I think that's fine, yeah. So,
3,000.
let me see these. So, 3. We came up with 2 for Bayview, right?
Yep.
And Cardinal Festival Committee, we came up with 2.
Yep.
All right, Spencerville Mill Foundation. For me, the Mill Foundation, I think the Mill Foundation does a fantastic job. I think they do wonderful work. I know, under the port, the previous port capital donations portion, they were the recipient of $72,000, I believe is what the, out of the capital, out of the 75 that we gave from the port in the last, either last year or the year before, to do the masonry work and to do that sort of stuff. So while I believe they do fantastic work and fantastic job, I think, you know, that number there has already been very, very large. So for me, I reduced that request down to 2,000. And that was strictly based on, you know, the amount that they'd gotten from the capital grants and donations in the previous couple of years, when that still existed through the port, so.
I had 3, but I also realized I had a question that I forgot to ask.
Karen, Joe, I like the 2, you like the 2, Karen?
I have those for 3.
It's looking like 2,500 to me. What was your question?
So my question, yeah, it was, so if they don't end up doing the elevator this year, could, like, for them to be able to prove this, what's that look like for them? Do they have to do something like put it in a reserve fund, or if they don't spend it, then it's, you know what I mean?
Good question.
So I think through the mayor, typically, they would need to report, obviously by the end of the year of what they use the money for. Like typically, once those amounts are approved, we would issue the checks to the organizations with the reporting back. I think that it's an additional layer where there may be a time where the work isn't going to be completed in the same year, and you know, in that regard, you know, an ability to track that. So it doesn't get lost or spent on something else other than what it was intended.
Okay, so I think that this group supports that, by the sounds of it, up to 2,500. Can we follow up with the Mill Foundation and before the council meeting, because we'll still have we still have to approve this ultimately. And find out if, it's funded at a lower dollar amount, if the plan would be to actually complete the work this year. Or would they put it off if it wasn't? I mean, if it's not gonna happen this year, I don't wanna earmark 2,500 for it, and when it could be used for something else. If it's not gonna happen, so. You know what I mean? Everybody okay with asking that question?
Yeah, and I think to that point, then, we should make sure, if we don't do it this year, they don't do the upgrades this year, we should remember this conversation for next year, hopefully, we got
Sure,
it.
yeah, we help. Yep.
Exactly.
A little bit more, I think, with fundraising. Okay, so 25 is the placeholder, I think, is what the dollar value was pretty much agreed on. There was a couple of 2000s, a couple of threes, but I think we're 25. Big, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, is that where we are? Each kind of zero? Joe?
Yeah, a couple hundred maybe.
What?
0.
I had 500.
I had 500.
And let's see. Stephen never marked. So. You were 5, I was 5. You were a couple, you were 0, you were 0. So we 3. Can you get your brain in there, Joe?
I can do 300 now.
Okay. Big Brothers, Big Sisters, 3 villages. Johnstown ATV Club. Anyone want to start?
I have a bill for 1,000.
So did I.
We were, again, another one who was successful in a port mount to buy the side-by-side that they use so well, and I think also in the past, they've purchased safety vests. I think for a small amount, correct? It wasn't a lot of money, but it was, yeah, and they certainly bring in a ton of ATVers that do a great job keeping the trails clear. I know they utilize Angelo's restaurant all the time. You know, here in Johnstown, and they are respectful and certainly conservationists when it comes to our forests and our lands. Having said that, I didn't put a lot there. I had $500 towards their house, but I certainly am happy to move that around a little bit if it needs to. So, and I think this guy. That's me. Who's it? Steve's. Not that it matters, but. I don't see it on this paper.
Oh, because it was on the last page, you just print out.
No, I printed it, so.
Oh, it's on page 15, so you don't have page 15 there.
He had no mark on it. I only printed the ones that he marked up on, so. Okay, so where are we at in this one? Sorry, I'm trying to move it.
I have 5.
You had 5, Joe, you were,
I could go with 1,000.
and Waddy, you were 1,000, Chris, you were,
1,000.
all right, I'll go to the 1,000 then, let's just be done. Yeah, I think that's money well spent for those folks, they'll utilize that in a lot of positive ways, so.
Really surprising amount of people.
It's unreal, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an industry.
Yeah, it really is. And the network of trails continues to grow and they get more permissions from landowners because they're so respectful and they do, you see it all the time. It's good. And I don't do it. I've got to get in on one of them, but I have not yet. I keep threatening to go and get all covered in mud, but I have not done it yet. So. All right, we're back to, I think, Spencerville Church, if I'm not, Spencerville United Church, correct? Is that where we are? Yeah, correct. We're making it. Anyone? I had 2,000, I just figured halfway. They can fundraise the other half.
I had 3, but I hear you.
I had 1,500.
I had all the churches.
You were at 0. I was 0 as well.
Okay. Keeping in mind, we're gonna have this discussion. You had nothing. You were,
I was 3, but, I know that's the high.
I'm not gonna get there.
So
Joe's at 0,
you had 2, I can certainly come to 2.
I had 2, you were at. You were at 3,
I wasn't 3.
Joe was at 0.
Yeah, no, I can come to 2, like I said, I can, if Councilor Snail's coming up, I can go down to 2,000.
Okay. 2,000, I think 2,000 there, again, I think that one's just a placeholder and it'll have to be a. I think a couple of these, we may do this again, council, sorry, staff. Maybe not, maybe just minor tweaking on some of them. So we're at St. Paul's Anglican Church. And. Anyone can start if they want.
I would. It's like full 1,500.
Mine at 500.
Those are 15 as well. Steve was at 1,000. Joe, you were at 0. Karen, you were at 0. You were what?
1,500.
You were,
I was at 500.
and I was full 15. Steve's at 1,000. You're at 500. We're gonna have to come down a little bit. 1,000. And the volunteer center of Rito St. Lawrence. I didn't mark this. I didn't say it earlier. I do have this one at the full 1,000. Sorry. I missed it when I said it earlier.
I had it down at 500. Flexible.
We do such, I know a lot of the work, or most of the work, or almost all of the work is done outside of our area, but it does, when they made the presentation, it wasn't. I don't think it was last year actually either. I think it was the year before they came and made a full presentation, and it certainly does a lot for tax returns for low income folks, and it is certainly utilized by a lot of residents in our township, and those tax returns are done at no charge to our residents, and that's how in the past we were able to justify any amount being put forward to it. And if my memory serves me right, in the presentation that they made in the past, I think they only have 1 employee on payroll, if I'm not mistaken. The rest are all volunteers. I think that's correct. I think everybody else volunteer. I think they only pay 1, and this is sort of goes towards doing 1. So it certainly helps out for tax returns and things like that in our township. So low income. Okay, need some numbers. Let's get this done. We're almost there. I think this is the last one. Did you say that? I had it at 750. That's the end number that I put down. I don't know if that's right or not. That's the one I put down. Volunteer center. I had 4. You had 5? Joe?
I can do a full 1,000.
I'll go full 1,000 too.
I'm full.
Okay.
Hold on. Hold on. I may have some support. No. Steve had 0.
Okay. I guess I didn't see the benefit. I just don't lose anyways, so.
Gonna go 1,000.
Yeah, it's going for the 1,000. Yeah. Okay. And again, you can make the argument, do it later. We'll just put this over for the next hour-long discussion we have on the same discussion. All right, what's our number at CAO?
2,400,
I
somewhere.
believe we are at 24,500.
That's what I have too.
So, so can we leave it at that then, if everyone's okay through this, cause I think. I haven't heard anybody passionately speaking about improving or taking away any of those numbers. It leaves us a little bit of leeway if we wanna add a little bit, at council when we have the full discussion. Again, or have another discussion on it again, so if there's one of them, you go away for 2 weeks and you feel strongly about, you wanna add 500 or you wanna take away 500, you can make the argument. But it also leaves us around that 5,000 to support events that go on throughout the year instead of having to knock, you know, a percentage up on our budgets that we can actually, you know, have a little bit of money to move towards some organizations. So. You wanna speak?
Just for you, Commissioner, just wanted to maybe go from top to bottom, make sure that everybody's in alignment with the numbers that we have.
Okay.
And then we can,
Fire away.
so starting at the top, we have 2,000,
Um,
1,000,
Yep.
1,000.
Yep.
500,
Mm-hmm.
3,000.
Yep.
0.
Yep.
3,000.
Yep.
2,000.
Yep.
2,000.
Yes.
2,500.
Yes.
300.
Yes.
1,000.
Yes.
2,000.
Yes.
1,000.
Yes.
1,000.
Yes.
750.
Yes.
0.
Yes.
1,000.
Yes.
500.
Yes.
For a total of $24,550.
24,550. Good.
I think we should require something. We gave the other two churches, don't start at the down when they were a church organization, and we kind of assumed they might not get any of the church organizations. People were shopping like $300, you know.
I wanna hear what everybody else has to say. I can get my brain there.
I give
Joe,
it
so-
$300.
Well, they made the effort, you know. It's-
It's 1, 2, 3. Chris. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Here.
Oh, it's very,
You got a brain there? Yeah, all right.
300.
we could go concert in the park anyways, eh?
Yeah, the concert in the park, yeah. All right. So, 850, I think nowadays. Sorry, CAO.
Correct,
my bad.
correct, it should be $24,850.
Okay, all right, still leaves us lots of wiggle room. Within the final, now you wanted to discuss. The in-kind. So where are we on the in, what's the? There were a couple I noticed that were outside, of it, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so for the 14 of 128, so for the in-kind for the church, I agree. I think, is that what you're getting at? The disposal of the garbage?
Yes, that one, I believe that was one of the, that was one of the ones that outside the norm, yes.
The in-kind, because we're looking at the in-kind, right? Okay, so do we have an issue with the Sierra one? That's outside of normal? We take care of Millennium Park, do we not? We already do that, right? And we keep the fields clean and we do, our recreation staff does a great job keeping, you know, everything cleaned up and ready for use. I'm struggling to understand what the in-kind is there. We already do that, do we not?
Yes, we don't, yeah, we typically don't include any like support. Personnel. Yeah, that is correct.
We do or we don't?
We, like, we,
Do we charge them for use for municipal facilities?
that's happening.
Yeah, no, I think some of the in-kind is that we do, some printing for them. At the office, for their community newsletters.
Yep.
Um,
Oh, yeah, it does say printing, it does say printing in the
So that's-
newsletters and stuff, yeah.
we do that. At one time, Sarah used to supply the flowers for the 416 Memorial Park. But for the last number of years, not as I've done. That we supply the, mulch and whatnot. They still do, sometimes with that, people, the property singing. But we take care of that.
Right, that's the way I understood it too, yeah. So mainly. And then it's use of this building
That's correct.
if need be as well, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, I have no issue with any of those. Anyone? Okay, alright, so that one's good. Friends of the Library was in kind of only, and it was the removal of the. Removal of the books. Right, and then it says, and help with planting in front, or. Do we know more?
Yeah, I can speak to that.
Can you speak to it?
Again, it's not so that the Friends of the Council Library, we contract, the rec department, we do transport the books into their, to the recycling. We also take care of the maintenance of the gardens around the library.
Yeah, we should. When it comes to the books, it's like a couple of times a year, like a dump truck full of books, are we talking, or are we
I would
talking like?
say it's about 6 times a year, and sometimes it's a half-ton truckload.
It is, eh?
Yeah.
I think that's gone on for years as well, if I'm not mistaken. You know, I think, you know, I have a little bit of knowledge on there, of course, because it's not a conflict that my mother-in-law does, you know, is on that board as well, and it's, you know, they get so many books sent to the library, and you know, and some of them are destined for the library to see if they can use them, and some of them are for the friends of the library for the book sales to raise funds. Then conversely, they come back and help the library, and it's just, you know, some books are just, people just drop them off, and they're just not worthy, right? So it's tricky like that.
Did staff want to comment beyond Mike? Do we have any comment? More on this? No, you're good. Okay, so I'm fine with that too. So where are we? Are there more then? Do we need to discuss on any kind, or are we good?
No, Mr. Mayor, I think we're okay. There was,
Yeah,
there was one that.
the hospice sign. Waiving of installation fee for a sign at the Spencerville Arena. So are they paying for the sign and they're just asking for it to be installed for free?
Yes, that is correct. They will supply the sign. And there must be $100 a year fee to waive to install.
Yes,
I don't see it on here.
it is. It's on the top.
No, sorry, I meant the next thing. I was gonna say, sorry about that. Oh, sorry, you were talking about this one here?
Yeah, I want to stick.
Sign.
Settle these. Settle these. This is the hospice sign. But I need people to speak to it.
Where is the purchase order?
Top of page 14.
Oh, okay, I didn't see it as a value. 14. Yeah.
Do we don't do that for anyone else, do we?
Do we have any other volunteer, these signs up there, or is it shared business as usual?
Any other types of sign that's a key page. Yeah.
Yeah.
Five individual ones.
It's a one-time only installation fee though. Right, but it's an ongoing
Well,
advertising.
it's the yearly advertising fee, so they're just wanting to put it on the wall, not on the board, so on the
Right.
wall, there's some sort of reason, the cost of $100 a year plus.
Right.
So that's what they're.
And it would be ongoing, like,
Well, I'm sure that they would have to come back next year
and do the same.
and request the same. That is a yearly fee for the advertising.
And just so that I'm straight on this, before I say what I'm about to say, no one else gets it. Everyone else pays the $100 fee
That
if
is-
it's on the wall,
That is correct.
or you pay the
Wall
board
or
fee.
the boards.
Right. Okay.
Only ones that don't pay are ones that we have up there. Like, it's probably, we have something special like or something.
Sure. Okay, yeah. I can go with whatever, it's $100, I can go with whatever anyone else thinks, but I think you're heading into a difficult area if you say yes.
President, it's a dangerous
I think
set, and there's a lot of really qualified organizations out there that probably would deserve that, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rather than the man paying to have mine put up there, if somebody else gets it free, I would be very happy.
Yeah. It's the. I don't think precedent now, really.
I think you could, it's like, we're good.
So I think we just say no to that. Was there, okay, so there's another one too. In-kind support requested the municipal staff to assist in distributing event information on township community calendar and social media for the fast support network. I'm looking to staff.
That's very minor in nature, that's just, our rep coordinator or. the.
Yeah, we don't usually go through these line by line, right? I've never gone in 5 years, I've never gone through this before, so.
No, there were a few, as we indicated with respect to the church.
Are we going any,
With use of the transfer station, like those are much bigger items.
Yep.
That we just wanted to confirm.
okay, is there any other one then that you want us to look at?
No, we had initially, and I forgot that one got changed. It was the Mill Foundation, they were looking for the sewer costs to be in kind, and well, that was inside of it. That was it, we said no, it would need to be covered by the grant submission, so. The rest are
And so are we going then to that one? I don't see it anywhere.
no, if you look at the top of page 12. The cash request to cover sewer costs.
Oh, it's in the cash
It's
request.
in the cash request.
So it's already
No,
changed.
pick up
On the
the
in-kind, we're okay
funds
with.
To the cash request, yes,
Okay, and the in-kind we're okay with, they moved
Yeah.
it into the cash request, so it's all
we're good,
good. Okay. Okay, so then we're done?
we're good, thank you.
Wow, an hour and 10 minutes. Yeah, thanks. Can you make sure on whatever day the council meeting is that we allot at least an hour of time for that discussion? I don't get the sense that it will take that, but it will take at least probably 10 minutes, I'm sure. The deputy mayor will may at least have a few comments because he does feel passionately about a couple of those, so well done. Yeah, almost painless. No, it's fantastic. No, I'm making fun, but it is though. It's absolutely, it's fantastic. I think it was great on this council's, you know, it went from 12,000 to 15 and it's at 30. And I think 30 is a fantastic number because there's a lot of good that you can do with that money. It's about 0.5%, not even 0.5% in taxation, right? It's less than that. And it's certainly, you can see all the organizations that are gonna benefit from those money and the great work that they all do in the township, so. Yeah, as much as I'm joking about it, it is fantastic and it is money well spent, so. We're good, we can go, all right. All right, so 7B, personnel policy update. And so I'm going to look to staff, because I read all of this one. And there might have been one or two things that I saw that probably need a little bit of tweaking. And it's definitely some updating, but it didn't seem like it needed a wholesale workover. Is there something that you want us to look at? Because it's it's Schedule A is a pretty good sized document to fully change, so.
It is rare, just, first and foremost, bringing it forward to see right off the bat, if there were particular areas, from a committee council standpoint that, that you saw as needing, a bigger overhaul. And if not, I just wanted to touch base on a few, items, and get a little bit of feedback. One of the items that, like to at least bring to your attention is to bring some continuity between the union and the non-union, contracts, where they're sort of a little bit, out of sync, and whether there's, interest with respect to bringing those, a little closer to being in sync, and just, raise those particular items, up to you.
Okay, do you want to bring those forward?
I certainly can, if there's no other additional comments from the committee, with it being a personnel policy, and I wanted to at least, I didn't want to, necessarily start off by leading the discussion, but I certainly can.
Just for clarity, this is the item that we're looking at is non-union bylaw from 2015. Correct. And the attempt is to make it a little bit more congruent with what the unionized contract is. Is that the ask?
Not necessarily, but certainly want to raise some areas where they're not consistent, and naturally some of the inconsistency comes from this policy being close to 9 years old.
So I'll say it this way. I know, this group, 3 are new to council. I've sat through one union negotiation, and I don't know the contract line by line or schedule by schedule by any stretch. As much as I'm familiar with a lot of it, I certainly don't, I can't quote anything from it. So this would be a staff initiative that's coming forward to us to see what we want to do. This isn't led by council, so I think staff's going to have to lead this discussion.
And that's fine. I have no problem leading that, but what I didn't want to do was look like influencing in one way, shape, or form if members had particular items that they wanted to bring forward.
So I will, and there are 2 in that for me, and I just want to, I know I may be mixing this up with the port. And I know, not the non-unionized, I'm just thinking the union contract at the port. And I do believe in the last contract, it went to 10 sick days. Maybe misquoting that, but I thought that was a PSAC, a federal thing that they had the potential for 10 sick days. It may have been a negotiated portion, it may have been whatever, but I think that number's 10, not 6. So that was the one question I had. Or is there unionized 6? This one's 6.
So the our unionized one is 6.
Is 6? Okay. Okay, so that answers that.
I believe the 10 is federally around, but I don't believe that all 10 are.
It's not one that we need to get into the weeds on. It's just one of the ones that that I had a question regarding was, is that one of the areas that, you know, because we want them to be as equal as possible, right? So, the other one was the holidays. And we go through this often. Because the contract, as it's written for the union, I believe, is that either a federal or a holiday becomes a holiday. Or a federal or a provincial day becomes a holiday. It doesn't have to be both. Right? And because I think in Ontario, Truth and Reconciliation Day is a federal holiday, but not a provincial holiday, correct? So unionized staff would get it, right? But does non-unionized staff get it?
So, there's nothing in the contract right now that would indicate that non-union would get that. With the port being sort of federally regulated, that would be something that the port non-union staff would receive that day along with the union staff.
Yeah, there is some inconsistencies there.
Yeah, and it's just more or less, at this stage to note that and see if there's, whether we want to bring some of those items closer into one.
Well, for me, and I'll speak directly to Truth and Reconciliation, we've had this discussion over the last term of council. We haven't really had it at this council. I can't remember what we did last year. I think it was a day last year. I know in my mind, Truth and Reconciliation isn't about going shopping. It's about learning. It's about understanding. And for me, I would love to see us host, some form of a Truth and Reconciliation speaking engagement where First Nations comes to our staff. If we're going to talk health and wellness and we're going to talk Truth and Reconciliation, we're going to have that day supported. Maybe we should actually do it as an educational event so that we actually are doing what we're supposed to do on that day, and that's reflect on why we need that day off. That's just my little 2 cents on Truth and Reconciliation, but I think it shouldn't be a day off to go shopping. It should be a day to learn and to understand about First Nation. Other than that, group insurance is what group insurance is. And without getting out a union contract and going through comparing piece by piece, I don't know. Like $400 for clothing, is that where it should be?
I'm happy to point out those particular areas.
Yes,
For sure.
I think we're gonna need some help on that, unless somebody else wants to.
So there's just one thing that I had noticed, and I wasn't sure. I know it seemed low to me, to be honest, and it not necessarily a non-bargaining versus bargaining position, but I noticed that on the bereavement leave, for Uncle Lee's nephew, it was 1 day, and I've always seen it as 2 days wherever I work. I don't know if that's something you want to contemplate. I just think that 1 day is almost not enough, especially, yes, it depends on the family, but that's a pretty close relative to just get 1 day off. And so I just looked at that and thought, is that something we should be bettering? That's all.
Happy to begin, and we'll walk through a couple of those areas. That works. I think probably the starting clause we could go with number 6, which is sick leave, which was raised. So as indicated, both union and non-union receive up to 6 days for what we'll call short-term illness. So with the collective agreement, there is a clause in there with respect to any of the days that have not been used within a year, 50% of that would be paid out. So if you didn't use any sick days So none of the six, and three days would be paid out at the.
Do we, sorry, and you may have said it and I may have missed it in the first part of what you said, is that in the union
That is,
number?
that
Half
50% of any unused.
and staff gets nothing?
As it is right now, if those days are not used,
Okay, so the incentive is,
They do.
the incentive is to use them all, whether you're sick or not, then, so that you actually don't lose them. If you do a 50%, you know, you're,
That's the way.
I mean, I wouldn't say that it trends that way.
staff's really good.
It's seen as if you're sick, you're.
Yeah, well, we don't want you to come to work.
Right, but I think that, you know, I think the other part, it is a little bit tricky, but I think, too often we're referring to sick leave and we talk about, illness. Yeah, you know, it's almost a little bit better sort of to be talking about it as wellness days.
Sure.
If you're,
Yeah.
right,
That's what I said,
it
exactly.
could be just as easy that it's just.
If you need a day off, take a day off.
You need a day off, exactly.
We all do.
Exactly, so, you know, we may look to, refine that and broaden that just a little bit. Not on the wording, end of it, but it's really if there may be some interest in, sort of matching what's in that collective. So it's just noted,
Yep. I have no issue with that. You know, we support a healthy, I mean, staff and, you know, we can't say enough about the great work that our staff does, but at the same time, we want them to remain able to do that to the best of their ability, and by not using sick days when you really, you know, I'm gonna call it a sick day, a wellness day. You know, I know with my staff at my business, if they need a day off, they need a day off, and there isn't even any discussion about it. The discussion is, are you okay and do you need more? That's usually the discussion that happens in my workplace, right? Because you're gonna contribute a lot more and you're gonna be a lot better at your job if you get that kind of support that you need. So if that's what the suggestion for this is, of course, that's kind of great.
yes, and I don't see this, at least our trends are showing that, much different from, before or after with respect to the use of those days. If you need them, you need them, that's important. If, you know, if you're, healthy and haven't used any of those days, then that would be available to.
Right. Yeah.
With respect to,
Just I'm just gonna excuse Councilor Smale just for a couple minutes. He's that's been late. We can continue. Okay, yeah, no, we're fine, we can continue.
one area that we're looking at with respect to group insurance, is with respect to dependent life insurance, spouse at 5,000, 2,500. Whether that may be low, that may require.
Is that, so just so that I'm correct here, are we saying that the life insurance that's offered, like, to our staff, direct spouse, the only amount that they would receive would be 5,000 if there was a workplace related, from an insurance policy perspective, it would only be 5,000? Like, I'm misunderstanding.
So
It
if,
seems like it's not.
So if my son or daughter passed away, that would receive $5,000.
And that comes from where?
the group and
Group benefit package. And so the suggestion is that that needs a modernization.
I would say that is low, should have been like that.
Did we pick that number or did, like, how do we arrive at that?
I think,
It's 2015, so
yes, and I think that's been at that level for some time.
so even before 2015.
I believe so. So I think it's certainly one of those items that we may want to be speaking with our broker on with respect to that. I do believe that was the area that we are probably.
Yeah, so there'd be a modernization of that policy.
Yes,
To
that
reflect
we- that we
instead of 20.
that we would look at and bring forward to see what that kind of difference is with respect.
And I believe, I think that's true, that seems out of date, I think mine is actually roughly double that on my insurance for my dependents, I think it's 10 and 5 to be honest. And I don't know about how our group insurance works, but then I can, at my own dollar expense, buy that up if I wanted to as well. So,
Are there, yeah, and that's good. Are there further ones, Dave, that you wanted to bring? Because I think all that I'm hearing is that the whole thing needs a modernization. And I don't think that there's any non-support at the table. It might be worthwhile just bringing a document that has track changes in it and just show what the modernization of, the suggestion is. As far as that, I'm not getting any pushback. I think every single person up here supports modernization of this document. If you want, do you want to bring back one that is already done that we can support?
That was ultimately the goal, just wanted to get some initial feedback before we did sort of one of the, updated the modernized the document.
Yeah, and it'll have a track change, not just a,
We will track change that.
because I think that probably would make the most sense. So there's any more that you really feel that we need to go over, or are you good with?
I don't think there's anything, too out of the ordinary. Well, I think I will on this one item, because I think it does, need some clarity. That's under vision here.
Okay.
So it speaks to, within that point, 4-month period, the purchase of prescription glasses, not including, which I believe is meant to be prescription sunglasses, contact lenses, and eye exams for 3240. And we have a number of staff that are working with,
So you want to change it from not including sunglasses to including prescription sunglasses?
well, I think that the amount is there, whether that's spent on prescription glasses or prescription sunglasses during that period, it's still the same amount. I'm sure there's probably a good reason at some point why that was sort of in there, but to me, it's the amount is what the amount is, so whether it's prescription sunglasses that you're utilizing or it's prescription glasses, you're only getting
Just not
that
regular.
amount within that two-year period.
If sun safety is the key though, then are we excluding those that have good eyes? So the suggestion is that we cover prescriptive eyewear. And that there's lots of folks that work in the sun and they need prescription sunglasses to do so. But what if you don't need prescription? What if you don't have prescription? We don't. I'm guessing that's why. You follow?
Well, somewhat. And I think that, and that's why I think there's a difference between getting, sunglasses to protect the eyes that are not prescription, and versus, prescriptive sunglasses.
This probably came in when I was actually a employee because of me. Because I had glasses and there was guys buying sunglasses that were very, very expensive when I went to, I don't know who's in that, David, or. That's a McKinstry one, but anyway. They bought sunglasses for me and, I think it was Kenny Sloan was the other one that had glasses. And everybody else had got sunglasses, so they put a kibosh on, you can't buy Oakley sunglasses, fellas, you can buy sunglasses if you don't wear glasses. But they did provide me with prescription sunglasses and Kenny. So I don't know if it's in the contract or they just did it with the kindness of their heart, I don't know. Or the contract would find it.
Yeah, so, yeah, well, so I was just reading this, so we also kind of cover that in the clothing allowance part for non-prescription glasses and stuff anyways, and then we also cover prescription safety glasses. It doesn't call out sunglasses, but, you know, I think I'm with Councillor Smale, that this could be abused, and, I don't think I'd be in favor of trying to change it to, you know, focus in there, or anything like that, I guess. What I'm saying. So is the vision care, is that done through us directly or is that done through our group insurance? Us directly? Oh, yeah.
So what do we want to word it as?
Well. Maybe. And this is where we're looking at. We're getting prescription glasses. Or prescription sunglasses, whether it's transition, like, some of the prescription glasses are transitions that work, whether. Whatever you want to spend on, if you need corrective lenses, right? To me, it's like, it's either like prescription sunglasses or prescription glasses. You're only going to get one pair in 24 months at the cost of most glasses right now. Right. So if your eyes don't change. What was it? And I think that's the question, whether, and I anticipate that it says not including sunglasses. And how do you read that? Not including prescription sunglasses or not including sunglasses? I think that's whether it needs to be debated or just, you know, if it's prescription glasses, it can be left as it is.
Just one thing, the eye exam now is not included in the 450. That goes through our medical package now, where before it used to be, we got the 450, which included your eye exam and the glasses. Now with Sunlight, you get the eye exam through Sunlight and the eyeglass purchase is through the Sunlight.
It's good to hear. Those companies, those too, so.
Yeah, sure.
If I'm not in the union no more and I don't work, but I didn't get transition sunglasses or glasses, what do you call it, regular glasses, because I'm a hunter. So when you go hunting in the afternoon, your glasses get dark before it's really dark and you can't see, so I had to buy special glasses to fit over top my glasses. Now they're retired for sunglasses. But I mean, most people get transition glasses.
I think the policy needs a modernization. If staff wants to bring a recommendation forward, I'm happy. And I don't want to waste, I mean,
That's
we're
fine.
killing ourselves on wording here and
No.
I think. I hear you. I think the policy needs modernization let's see what happens when you.
We will bring forth the modern policy.
Okay, so we're good with that then? There's no motion or anything that needs to go with that, it's just discussion, right?
Not at all.
Okay, so we're on 8C. First quarter treasury and reserve report, treasurer, you want to bring that forward?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to give a little background, there are 4 usual quarterly reports that are filed. So we'll do the financial report, the long-term debt schedule, the year-to-date capital status report, and then pre-audit reserve and reserve fund report. So as I mentioned in the report, currently we have the operating surplus of $38,765.40. That's before audit adjustments. So I haven't received the final adjustments from the audit.
Just question quick.
Yeah.
That number is last year's surplus?
Yeah.
Or is that,
2023. So
that's 2023 surplus, that's not surplus to,
no,
yeah, good.
no. So if we go to the next page, the periodic financial report, the one thing of note in here is the just with the cash and bank balances and accounts receivable, we're a bit behind on our bank recs. So the HST receivable is still sitting in receivable, not in our cash and bank balances. So those two more or less offset each other. The other thing of note is the addition to long-term debt. That was just the additional of the Cardinal wastewater measure that we did on February 15th. And a lot of the rest of this is waiting for our year-end audit adjustments. So if we go to the next page, which is the long-term debt schedule, the one thing that I'd like to point out is those ones that are highlighted in yellow, so it's 4 payments. Those are that's the only debt we're going to have on our books at the end of 2024. So the fire communications equipment will be done. The case grader will be done in June. The Scotiabank loan for the truck is already finished. And then I think in October, the last of the top grade ones are paid back. And then we're just left with 4 IO loans.
Thanks. Just a quick question. So we bought a truck with budget. I was away for that meeting. Did we finance the truck or did we just bought it? Okay. Well, that's good. Well, there's no more 0% out there, is there?
Nope.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that on the stage.
Okay.
So that was really what I wanted to highlight. So if you look at the township total, it will be about $390,000 a year in our debt servicing costs.
Mhm.
And just in context, our debt repayment limit this year is 3.38 million.
So what were those two numbers again? 700,000 and 3.8 million?
Well, will be 390 grand in annual payments.
Yeah.
For our township, the debt, and our annual payment limit right now is about 3.4 million.
So we're just error over 10%?
So we could take on an additional, I think at 5% rates, 20 years, we could take on an extra $42 million of debt. And so we under our estimate. So our debt position is excellent.
I don't think I want to do that. There's a lot of calm downs up going on here.
Yeah.
Excuse my ignorance, but IO for Cardinal wastewater. Only the users of the system pay that 77,000, correct?
That's correct.
That's not all township taxpayers, it's just the users of the system.
Exactly.
Even though the debt is borne by the entire township, nobody in Spencerville is paying that debt,
That is correct.
only the users.
Yeah. So in July, when we look at reviewing the user rates, that will come into effect in 2025, when we bring that forward, that'll have those costs factored in.
Because that's interesting, because that changes that number again too, right? Realist, not like the thought that the users pay that portion of the debt, not the entire township, right? Like, to me, that changes, that number gets even smaller of debt that we have.
Well, it does, and that's why I was just talking township, that like our total, budget $53,045 for the EMS station, that's actually by the county.
Counties, yeah,
So,
right, so we don't have any of that either.
No, so.
Really, the biggest thing and the only thing is 20 more years of agreement, right?
20 more years of the Rita and 20 years of the Johnstown Green.
Yeah.
So again, it's in excellent shape, and we're not, scheduled to take on any debt in 2024. So
Right,
our-
so no new debt
Once we
whatsoever.
have our capital programs fully funded.
He said, yeah,
2024, there's no debt coming in 2024. Not happening. The budget's approved, no debt. Okay, sorry, did you want to continue then?
Yep, so if we move on to capital, I changed this up, from the way it was presented before. This is basically the same thing you would have seen at budget time, just with extra columns added to it. Apologies that it's very small print, but, for anybody that's, kind of reading it on paper. What I did was highlighted, items that, were either supposed to be completed in Q1 or, have costs in them. So if I go from the top, for the administration office upgrades, we did have some actuals come in, so, we had to do a payment, deposit payment on the kitchen cabinets. The server equipment is actually a 2023 item, but we got the bill in 2024, and then just some engineering services. With the tandem, with the half-ton replacement, we had $60,000 budgeted. The final cost came in at $56,900, so we're a little bit ahead of budget on that. The other item in Q1 is the holder C70 sidewalk plow, came in a little bit above budget. We had to order some extra plow equipment, but it offsets with 3,100 that we wrote under on the truck, so we're still within budget. And then, on the, capital program for the rate-based capital, we have completed, the sewer manhole rehab and, the boiler replacement. We just haven't received final invoices yet. So, and the reason for leaving it, this way is as those, numbers come in, you'll see in which quarter they were actually received.
Good question.
Yeah.
So for the ones that are in Q2 that don't have tender complete, some of them say yes.
Yes, so some, I'm not sure, maybe the director of recreation in, I'm not sure if we are doing a tender for the, Cardinal tennis courts, or do we have someone in mind to do that work already?
Through the chair, we won't put it in for actual tender because the value is low, but we will obtain, we will not through quotes from, asphalt.
Okay.
For that one.
And if I can, with the, in regard, I noticed the lights, here are for the pickleball and everything are connected. I'm assuming that they work. Like they're,
For
like a
the-
light switch on them?
For the pickleball?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And when will the tennis, or not the tennis ones, when will the baseball ones go in?
That's scheduled to be done a week ago.
Oh, fantastic. So they'll be installed and ready to use when the teams start playing baseball. Fantastic.
Everything's been ready, we're just waiting for poles for a ride.
Yeah.
The work will be completed, they'll be taking the old, like, out of town. And we will remove the smooth base, and then we're putting it on top.
Brandon, awesome. Can't wait to see it. Fantastic. Great work. That was it for me.
Okay. And just as far as the tenders, we'll speak later to the, tandem access plow truck tender, where one bid was received, and, we have a tender closing next week, or tomorrow, sorry, for, Jordan Road, triple culvert, and then the week after, the Weir Road Bridge closed. For all the road work, we have the contract and min tender complete. They're getting prepared the tender to go out, to get those roads done. So all in all, I think we're in a good spot for capital. We've got, everything that needs to be underway. And, we'll just see what happens when, the bid comes in for the big road run project.
So for the roads. There's. The tenders are out for the roads now,
No,
they're not out for the roads yet,
no,
so my question will, just hear me out. So when we budgeted for those, April 1st was carbon tax increase. When we budgeted for those, did we budget in the increase for carbon tax? Or are we going to find ourselves in a position that carbon tax affects those previous numbers that we budgeted for that work to get done?
there was a contingency put into that price, so it may into that contingency. If you not,
It wasn't completely, but it should be covered. Okay. And there's an increase again next April. Right? We'll have to make sure that we build that in when we have that discussion, so that we're not eating contingency just to cover the basic tenders. We want them to be as accurate as we can. Okay.
alright, and, so moving on to reserves. The only thing of note for movement within the reserve account, the consolidated reserve account in, Q1 is, obviously we had that GIC that matured. So that's the $1.8 million coming out. And then we put 1.25 back in, and then, 585,000 was deposited into the industrial parkland reserve. As you can see, we're already at 86,000 interest accrued for the year on the account, which is great. The $1,030,000 is the repayment of when we borrowed while we're waiting for the debenture to be funded. So that on February 15th. And then the $60,000 is the Q1 portion that is capital on the money that we get from.
Questions with reserve?
Well, I had a question earlier on, actually, but I just waited.
Go ahead.
So with the page 63, which is the assets and liability, the pre-audit financial report, sorry. The accrued landfill closure, just to refresh my memory, that's expenses we incur in support of the old Pittston Road dump. Is that what it is? Yeah, and so and I'm bringing that up because a resident, I don't know if it's true or not, a resident told me they thought that 2025 was the last year we had to support that. Do we know if that's the case, or is that?
I'll wait, go through the chair to Council Ward. We will wait on what the audit comes in on that, because technically that falls under the new asset retirement obligation standard that comes in this year. So right now it's sitting there as a accrued landfill closure, but it should change to an asset retirement obligation, and then it would be amortized.
Appreciate that.
I was with the reserve funds. So balance grand total 9.6 at the end of the year. With adjustments, increased 178, took it to 9.8. We're transferring 3 million, just about 3 million in There's 86K in interest, there's 1.8 coming out, and we're building the reserves to $11 million.
Correct.
That's year to date.
That's year to date.
What does that number look like as we go forward? There are any major hits to that number?
Yes, so, because our capital budget is funded, through reserves, like our road program, so you'll see the bulk, come out of, that dedicated capital reserve. You will see the Ontario Modernization Fund is going to be used this year, as is OCIF and CCBF. So those were the reserves that were used for projects.
Right. Yeah, so the Ontario Modernization Fund still had 236, the OCIF had 294, I mean, did we end up getting more on OCIF?
Well, we did, the OCIF that's sitting in here is what was unspent from 2023. So we get our regular allocation in 2024 plus the
Unspent,
298.
right, so it's actually gonna be more,
So it's
right?
actually
So,
quite a bit.
yeah, okay, and that'll go, that number goes directly towards the Pittston, or not Pittston, Weir Road, right?
Weir Road Bridge.
Weir Road Bridge.
And CCBF goes to Culvert and some of the road programs.
Good, so even getting the 4 million in capital done, we're still gonna end up with a quality reserve number at the end of the year, right?
That's right.
Excellent. Good. Anyone else? Sorry, I'm monopolizing. No.
Yeah, nothing.
No, you're touching around the same topic. I was trying to figure out what the year-end balance was gonna be. I don't. That's a good conversation. And no, I didn't have anything else on this.
Good. Yep. All right. I think you can. There's no motion for this, is there?
No, these are all.
It's just information, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to move on then?
Will do. So the next one would be the Q1 budget variance report. So naturally, we're 25% through the year, you would think we would be 25% spent, but that is not really the case, since some things are paid all at once, and some are things like our capital is largely spent in Q3 and Q4. So where we're at right now is 83.05% of the budget remaining is still unspent, which is good. It's higher than 75%, which is what we would want. The budget and transfers into reserves, so this probably clarifies a bit from the last question, haven't been done and won't be done until the work commences on the capital projects, which they're assigned to. As far as some variances, year-to-date for building permit revenue is lower than anticipated due to lower permits received. And in Cardinal, the revenues are down compared to last year, but on track to meet the 24 budget. So with the Leo Boyden turning going to the Prescott Arena, which is we had last year at Cardinal. So that's why you see a little bit of variance year over year, but we're right on track to meet our budget for 2024. On the expense side, where we're at there, public works vehicle expense has 69.74%, so just a little bit under 75% remaining, mainly due to repairs to the sidewalk unit and all of our annual license renewals that are paid in March. So that skews the number a little bit. The shop and expenses and fuel budget, even though I would call this on track at 73.8, it's still there. It's still very close to target. And you know, one change as per years prior, rigid control budget has 53.39% budget remaining due to decreased events and additional materials and inventory at year end. So we didn't have the winter season that we were expecting, so we were a little bit ahead of the curve.
That's done, right?
Yes.
I mean, looking ahead at the facility stats reports, I don't think it's, any shock that the revenues are down. Slightly, the usage for the hours is, down as well, which was anticipated, right, with the opening to a great extent. And that's a discussion maybe for a different day, but it's certainly, it's not, I don't think it's a shock to anyone. I mean, we knew that was going to be the way. To me, this just looks like everybody's, doing what they're supposed to do and manage the organization well and keep everything in that line and inside the budget, and the variances are small one way or the other. There's nothing there that alarms me, especially once I see that, it's the annual inspections for the higher costs. I mean, that machinery sometimes costs us a lot more than what we hope, but, to me, everything here, nothing's shocking. The only question that I actually had, and it's more of a, I think everyone's experiencing lower permits around us. Like, I don't think anybody's building like crazy. High interest rates and inflation have certainly put, damper on that. But is there thought of what we can do to, like, it's not an Edwardsburg Cardinal thing, but I guess that's sort of what I'm wanting here. I know in talking to the other mayors that I talked to, nobody's saying their permits are a mile up or anything like that. But we also rely upon that growth to help offset our increases. Last year's was, I think, 1.99, if I'm not mistaken. We need to make sure we hit at least that 2% target to keep on track every year. That's inflation. So growth pays for growth. So are we going to get there? Not by the first quarter numbers. No. And there's no answer to that. I mean, sorry.
Through the chair, as of right now, I don't have an answer, but it is something that I can take away. See what
So on that same topic, then we talked about the growth pays for growth, but I remember we had a good conversation with the CBO as well at the time, and so there is some dollars on that budget that are attributed to the building, if you will, but are maybe not necessarily for growth. I mean, things like, I think it was items like paying for inspections that are not new, they're not permanent, just other things like that, So I think we should, we had this conversation in the past, but it'd be nice to get a look at that and see if there's some of those should be called out of that expense and not attributed to that, right? That was a statement.
Yep, I hear you.
It's still gonna be tough in your, I think.
Anyone else? No, I mean, I think at the 25% of the budget mark, it's great news, right? I don't think there's anything bad. You guys are doing what you do well. Yeah.
On other expenses, through the chair, that's okay.
Yep.
So the Spencerville Arena has 61% left on its remaining for the expenses. Is that where we expect it to be as well? Is there something different there? Or is that just I just noticed that one was differently by a significant amount. To the 75%.
We can take our look at it. The way you can look at it too is that facility is not open the whole year round. So if you look at it, it should be maybe 60-40 because we're open January, February, March. Then it's closed until September. So that's September, October. So it will be moved in a linear fashion.
Well, right, and I think we closed that one down earlier with the Cardinal. Is that true? Is that what happened? Maybe
This year we got the whole person.
Yeah, because Cardinal's at 78 versus a 61. Anyways, we could look into that just in case. Something like that. I'm sure it makes sense. It just jumped out at me that it was different for Cardinal.
So we're good? Okay, so then we're moving on then to us, I think, which is E, right, which is council remuneration report. You want to bring that forward?
Through the chair, what you have in front of you is the 2024 Q1 council remuneration report. So this is, we have to report every quarter on how much, we pay for honorarium and then what, comes out for conferences and expenses and mileage charges and along that nature. So if we look at the report itself, the honorarium is pretty straightforward. That's the conference training and development, the bulk of those charges are Roma. And there are a couple of charges in there for AMO as well. The charges go into these accounts as they're paid. So if someone registers for AMO in March, say, and it shows up on the March credit card statement, then it shows up in this report, but the conference isn't until August. So that's what you see there. And then you also have in our bylaw what the expense limits are. So it'll show by person what their remaining budget is for this.
Good. I think it's worth noting, while my conferences, training and development is, you know, quite a bit lower than others. The United Counties pays for my Roma fees, so they're not included in Edwardsburg Cardinal charges. They're you know, paid for, and they would show up in the remuneration and expenses reports at the United Counties. So not that anyone else is billing more than me. It's, we've all gone to those same training and development conferences, just mine's paid for out of that, because I'm the mayor and I represent the United Counties in theory when I'm at Roma, and when I'm at it'll be similar for AMO as well. They would bill the township for AMO, United Counties for AMO, so it's worthwhile noting. There's still you know, lots in that account. There's 11,300 still in there for training. I know that number will change with things like AMO, but as a plug to all of our council members and committee members, I think you know, there is AMO training, there is, you know, lots of other classes that pop up all the time. They, you know, through correspondence and through I'm signed up on AMO. I get an email almost every day with, you know, there's this class coming up and there's that class coming up, you know, to all of my colleagues. There's $11,300 in training budget there for this year. We should be using as much of that as we possibly can. That's a dollar value that should get spent. No surprises on this. Continues to be that very little mileage is paid out. No, I don't think since the cell phone allowance has been in, I don't know that I've seen a charge on there. There may have been one at some point, but I don't see any of the cell phone charges or anything like that at all. It seems like everybody's doing a good job. I will say again, on the United Counties portion, when it comes to mileage, we don't have any say when it comes to mileage. I don't think, I've never billed the township for mileage, but in United Counties, they just automatically apply it. So when I go to this remuneration expenses, every single mayor gets paid mileage. It just automatically gets added on. So anybody have any comments for this? I probably have one more, but I'll wait and see. You? Nope. No, I was
No, I find, I don't know, it's just, I don't know how they vary when we all did the same thing.
Submitted receipt.
In the conference training, yeah. So some of it is
Breakfasts.
Yeah, it's some hotel charges might have been a little bit different. I think if rather than for meals, like rather than expense, we did a per diem, then we see everything the same. And people have signed up for money conference as well. Yes.
Yeah, and I know I can speak for myself when there's some that I just ask to be registered for, so I'll send the clerk a request and she'll register me for the Augusta Mayor's Breakfast and she'll register me for Chamber of Commerce events and something like that. There might be a small charge to some of those, so if somebody attends more of those than others, it's like, $40 here, $25 there, sort of difference. Joe, anything?
Nothing, thank you, your worship.
No. I do, and I know that Schedule B of a discussion we had earlier. In the, personnel policy update, would come back to remuneration. But I do think when we get to reviewing Schedule B, and anything beyond on that, it is, I think the remuneration, as much as we moved, like, last month, we moved a resolution forward that asked for firefighter honorarium to become, a larger portion of it to be tax-free. I know this full amount of honorarium used to be tax-free, and it is no longer. And whether there is a small increase in pay, whether there's at least a payment for what the job is worth, or that we pass a similar resolution for honorariums. I think we need, as that Schedule B discussion, we certainly need to have a look at this number as well. All right. Anyone else? Okay, so then I think that table's off the hook and we're going to the right side of the room for the facility stats report and item F.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is on page 77. To start, so this is a fourth quarter and a first quarter. Fourth quarter of 2023, the first quarter of 2024. And it just indicates the first two pages are just talking about the facilities, the meeting rooms, these facilities, as well as the Johnstown Community Center here. Just go by the hours that potentially could be, shows the percentage. Down on the halfway down on page 79 is where we get into the ice levels. And what I've done for the 6 months, I've indicated, like for example, we'll take October 2023, is really on rank, shows that it brings it 314 hours. Below that shows what we would have rented in 2022.
Right.
So as you can see that all 6 months, our rental rates were lower than last year's for the same time period. When getting down to page 80, which is the last page of that report, under the March notification numbers for the Iridion rank, those numbers again are below. The Spencerville Arena is below, but last year the Spencerville Arena was only open until the 16th of March, where this year it opened until the 31st, based on requests. So it shows even greater number. So obviously, having the Prescott rink open at full capacity now definitely does impact both rinks.
I'll say what I have to say last. Karen? No, Joe? One,
No, sounds good to me.
Chris?
And I guess let's call it comforting, if you will. When I look at the available hours, which for the two arenas combined, we're not, and I get that there are different locations of the township, but we're not doing, available, the hours booked is not less than the sum of one of those arenas with available hours. In other words, from this, it looks like we, the Spencerville Arena, I know we've had lots of chats about this, and it's a tricky one for us right now. But it's not getting hours, and it's not needed in our township, it's like at this point in time, is that a good assessment, or?
It's a fair assessment, but if you were to take, Campbell Minor Hockey's 20 hours a week out of that Rankin Central, you would see what the numbers do there.
Right.
It's not South Campbell Minor Hockey, it's the Regional St. Lawrence Kings that are utilizing those hours at the expense of even more now. It, by far is Campbell Minor Hockey.
Well, I guess that's a good job for that, by the way, because I know there was a lot of effort put into getting that, so. We're obviously for this year, so thanks. That's all I had.
Yeah, I mean, I can add on to that. I think, you know, in having, you know, lots of discussions with, Warden Peckford and, members of their council, they're always looking for more ice time, right? Their 2 rinks that they have are at capacity, and, you know, they're certainly pushing us. You know, they certainly want to partner on the future, right? So, to the best of my knowledge, there's no danger on that ice time. I think that it's a good relationship and a good partnership, and I think they get good value for their dollars there. I don't think that there's any argument there. I think, you know, that, in the conversations that I've had, they're willing to even go further. So, you know, that's a discussion, I think, for a different day. There is one anomaly in the whole bunch, right? Like, there's a tiny amount more, 1 hour more used at Ingredion Center and Cardinal in I think it's February. And there's one, like a 6-hour difference in December that was higher than the years before. Do we know why that is? Are they tournament weekends or something, or?
It could be, but also, sometimes there are just private rentals which are included in these numbers.
Right.
This doesn't include like the drop-in waiver fees.
Yeah.
This is so if you are just rent an hour of ice, so sometimes you will rent ice more, something periodically.
Right.
It's not just the regular monthly users of South Campbell, the Kings and Campbell Minor Hockey. It's just the general public. We do have birthday parties where people rent the ice and then also rent the meeting room.
Right.
And have a party at the same time.
Sure.
So that's why sometimes those numbers are a little bit.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, the numbers, to me are even with the addition of Prescott, you know, I'm encouraged by the fact that the population of the township continues, you know, especially with young families. There's certainly a resurgence in, you know, minor ball this year in Johnstown, right? Like every single age group except for U13 is going to have 2 teams. I mean, we haven't seen that in a lot of years. So, you know, whether that's, I don't think that has anything to do with the investment back into the park. I think that has to do with families moving to the area. And I think that that's great news, right? In the long term. So, you know, the argument was that we didn't need 3, and we probably don't right now, but the reality is that if we keep at the growth rate that's predicted, you know, in 3, 4, 5 years, if the turnover continues to happen with the boomers retiring and young families moving in, we're gonna need the space. It's good, and I love that you said that it's not just minor hockey that's renting those extra hours. It could be that we actually have some time if, you know, you and I want to go out and have a skate where we can rent an hour of ice here and there, and it doesn't have to be at 11:30 at night on a Tuesday to do
No, yeah, and myself and Rachel work with the local associations. Like, for example, South Campbell could say that they don't need an hour of ice on a Saturday. We'll put that on a calendar block. Someone calls looking for an ice, then we're helping South Campbell. South Campbell will have to pay for it if it wasn't used because they're under contract. We try to help those associations whenever we can as well, and that's the way we do a lot. It's typically the Saturdays and Sundays that people want to rent ice for a birthday party, and those times are typically used up by the association on that are on contract.
Yeah. And I guess the last one that I would say is, and we know the ice is coming out a little bit earlier this year, and the put back in dates a little bit later as well. I don't think there's a plan to put it back in August. But the reality is there just isn't the amount of usage to justify having the ice yet. Am I right or wrong in thinking that?
Well, you're right in thinking that there definitely is not the demand. If both rinks were open, and I say both, I mean Prescott and Agree on, both rinks would probably be lucky to hit 50% capacity, because I don't know Prescott's actual numbers right now for their spring ice, but I would be very surprised if it was 100%.
Right, and so what we'll learn, right, and then this does come back to the facility stats, because we're looking at percentages of what we're booked. But what we're gonna learn by being closed is what one place could book by staying open, and it'll give us an idea of, you know, divide that by two,
That's correct.
if both of us work.
But then also, like, if you
They're not
look
gonna
back,
hit them.
if you look back to 2023, the Prescott rink wasn't open.
Right.
We typically would run April right through to May. Last year, we closed the 6th of May because there was not enough rentals for the last 2 weeks of May.
Right.
And that was with just one rink open.
Right, and we put back in the first week of August, but there really was only one group that rented 40 hours for 2 weeks, is that the?
For 1 week.
For 1 week, so we put it back in for 40 hours worth of rentals.
Full, guaranteed.
Right. Right.
We did have some in the evenings too, but that spring hockey is during the day.
Right, okay. And we'll learn a lot from Prescott's numbers.
Providing they give them.
They'll do a report just like this, and we'll have access to it, so, for sure. And that's maybe a tri-municipal conversation that happens down, the road, right, so.
It would be good to have one.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, further questions on facility stats reports? Okay, you wanna go to the maintenance report then?
Sure, and again, I'll just ask if there's any questions. This is again, I think, report, which is 4th quarter and 1st quarter. Again, I'd rather indicate this was over and above what staff do on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So,
Is there anything, Mike, that, sorry, facilities director, I use some first names on a daily basis these days. Is there anything that we should be picking up on in this report? Is there anything you wanna highlight on it? To me, it seems pretty normal, but.
pretty straightforward stuff, to be quite honest with you. There's nothing really that is alarming.
Yeah, that's the way I looked at it when I read through it. It was like just normal stuff. Okay, so then I'm gonna leave it for questions.
Just one question to the chair, to the recreation director. How often do you have to get the elevator, lift inspected in the arena? Or,
Through the chair to Councilor Chanel, every 3 months.
I'm sorry,
Every 3 months.
every 3 months, so.
Good.
Yeah,
At both locations, we have the one in Spencerville at Town Hall as well.
Karen, Joe, either? No. No, good. Right, thanks,
Thank you.
thanks, Mike. All right, Mr. Wendell, you're on for the 2024 lagoon discharge report.
For the mayor, we completed our discharge of the Spencerville lagoons in March. We discharged over an 11-day period between March 18th and 28th. Our normal window is between 15th and 21st. We discharged approximately 69,290 cubic meters, or 60% of our lagoon capacity. The table below is a summary of our effort results versus our environmental compliance approval limits. As you can see, we're still well below our ECA limits, and just point of interest, it's probably one of the earliest years we've discharged our reviews since I've been here. It's probably many years.
Yep. It is 60% a normal number?
That's actually, well, typically we're higher than that. Typically we're anywhere from 70 to 90.
Yeah, I thought it was 70. So what was 60 the amount that we needed to discharge, or?
60 was based on what was in the cell, so that's how much we discharged. So when you look at the total capacity that we have on our that's what we.
Takes us back down to that normal
Takes us
level.
to a low level. We can go in the rooms until we discharge again.
So is that indicative then of less creep into the system, or less usage, or what's?
Well, this
It's a
it
lot
would be addressed in immigration into our your manholes. I will also create a little work going on next year
how the work we did in Spencer this year, how that, improves that number, but there's a lot of other factors, precipitation, less snow now. What's, considered an size system, those factors.
Good. It seems like a really good news thing. It's, you know, you guys always run such a fantastic system, both in Cardinal Lane and Spencerville. There's no complaints about it. It just, that was the one number, because I thought it was in the mid-70s range. That was the normal one. So, should there be discussion? Is there discussion on this? No.
Fantastic, yeah.
That's always good. Karen? Chris? No. Okay, then I think you're off the hook. That was pretty. Should be putting you at the start of the. All right, item I, which is the good, big, long discussion. So, Indigenous land acknowledgement, update. And does someone from staff want to speak to this before we start talking about it?
That's right, I don't believe so, we did some additional follow-up, return for meeting discussion.
And I think I'll go first, if that's okay. I have two thoughts. One is that a lot of times it's only at the beginning of a council meeting, not necessarily a committee meeting. If we're gonna do it, I think we should do it for all of them. That's my point on that. The other point is, I don't think we should do anything until we actually do consultation with the First Nation themselves. I think it's fantastic that we want to move a statement forward. I think that's wonderful. I think I'd like to make sure that we have a relationship that we need to continue to build with our First Nations and Indigenous peoples, and I think part of that comes with actually having a conversation with them, and I know that's part of I think option number three maybe. When I was reading them, I think that's sort of that suggestion, but I think that probably all begins with me either writing a letter or taking a drive, or and maybe several of us and doing that. I know that at our port days that is coming up, we've invited every single chief to attend. And I'm hopeful, because of the relationship that we have with the port, that a lot of those chiefs attend, and we have the ability to start that conversation, because we already have a good relationship there, and we discuss this land acknowledgement statement with them and see if there is a way that we can go further with that discussion. So I think if it was my preference, I think that this information is great. I know we asked staff for it. I'm thankful for it, but I'd like to take that step with those folks and see exactly what they would like it to say, not just like what we would like to say. That's my 2 cents. Anyone else? Well,
I would.
I brought it, you brought it.
I would like to thank staff. This is like way overdue, and I understand what the mayor is saying, and I agree to a degree. I would prefer to go ahead with the recommendation and speak to the First Nations community and say, is this okay what we're doing? Just to make it easier for them and easier for us. This is what we'd like to do. Are you fine with this? I think we should go ahead and do it now. I like the recommendation this way it's written. I like option 2.
From my perspective, I think again, long overdue, as well, but there's no rush. There's a long time to get, in my eyes, to get to reconciliation, and part of reconciliation and truth is consultation. And I think without actually doing the consultation with these groups, yeah, I think it's a nice gesture, but I think the whole idea behind truth and reconciliation, a big part of it is that we actually do consultation. So
We don't think it has to be either or. I mean, we'll start with this and just go way out of the ballpark. We'll find out.
yeah, for me, it's consultation, but that's fine. I have no problem with doing a statement like 0. No, I think it's great. I just want to make sure that it says what it needs to say. But this is one that we need there is a recommendation, we need to move. We need to have a discussion on it and see what we're gonna do.
But in reading this, I think, I mean, I'm fine either way, but in reading this, I think option 2 provides both solutions. Because the third part is utilizing a shortened and non-specific land acknowledgement statement for the time being, until additional relationship building and consultation has been done. So it kind of covers both
Starts,
what Joe's saying and what you're saying.
Starts the
It gives a
process.
start. And then can be built up. So I'm fine either way, but I think in looking at it, option 2 sort of provides.
and I think 100%, and I don't get the thought that this group's gonna stop at the beginning of number 2, that they're gonna see it through. It's just a, sometimes cans get kicked and,
Mhm.
right, and we definitely don't want that. Okay, so you're supportive. Anything to say or not?
No, I'm almost exactly what she was saying a minute ago.
Yep.
So, I mean, I took a long effort last night, not last night, yesterday, reading through these and then, I mean, I started to, in my first mind, it's funny how it works. I started thinking, well, which one do I prefer? And then I remembered about the phrase, nothing about us without us, right? And then it really, when I thought about it, I sort of thought option 2 sounded good to me, but to the mayor's point, I think I'd like to see, I don't wanna do this, like, I don't see there's a real rush. I think if we can start to have the dialogue, I think that's a good effort on our behalf. So I was becoming in favor of option 3 by the time I finished this reading yesterday, so.
Yeah, your heart tells you something different, but then
Yeah,
your brain tells you, I looking back, I think this year's keynote Roma wasn't Jesse Rente, right? That was the year before, remember?
Correct.
Unreconciled, right? And I remember Jesse telling a story about his son coming home. They live in Toronto, and his son coming home and talking, Dad, they said our name at school today, because at school they put a land recognition in, and his point was, and it's much to what Councilor Martell's saying, is that it's not, it meant a lot to the kid to hear their First Nations name said, and Jesse didn't think that it was really making a difference at all in his mind, but he recognized that it did because his son felt worthwhile. And I can get my brain to 2 as long as we get to where we need to get. Like, I think I've supported this from day one. Like, I've wanted this for a long time too. So I just want to do it right. I'm not saying do nothing. I'm saying do everything. Can you get it too?
I can. I mean, I struggle with, on 2, the short and non-specific land and acknowledgement. Honestly, from my perspective of not trying to offend somebody, is almost my preference. But the fact is, I think there'll be, if the desire is to name the various, organizations, obviously I'm gonna have to get used to trying to say some of these, which is totally fine.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, I can get on behind 2. It wasn't what I was going with.
All right, well, there's time between now and then, so between now and council meeting, because none of this happens until it passes through council. Correct? So
Should I move that recommendation?
you can absolutely.
I'd like to move the recommendation as written, please.
Yeah, you need a second.
I move.
Okay, you got a second there. I think there's further discussion. I know there is. My question is, if this was to pass, there's nothing stopping the mayor from writing a letter and asking their input to this, or there's nothing. I think I would like to do it. So to the. First Nations, like I can put a letter together. To ask them, maybe not for the final, but to ask them their opinion on making a small acknowledgement first. And then working with them towards something more wholesome.
We'd encourage you.
You okay with that? Does that get you closer? That way we're not offensive.
Yeah, yeah, okay, I mean, yeah, I just hate feeling like we're doing something twice, but we're not really doing it twice, so, yeah, that's fine.
So do a small, they've already got the small one,
Do a small one,
and then
yep.
we ask them what we do. The consultation, we
Yep.
do what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, so.
Hopefully we'll get some good input back. Yeah. Okay. All right, so moved and seconded, any further comments? Looking and seeing, hearing none, that was way smoother than I thought it was gonna be. I'll call a vote, all in favor? All right, looking forward to this. The one thing I wasn't sure on when we did this is, so did the two recommend, like option 1 and option 2 didn't define where it would go, did it? Because there's one where it's before approval of agenda and it's red, and then there's one where it's not red and it's just on the sheet. Do we have to make that direction as well? Or is that because it's,
I think it's written in there.
is it written in there?
Incorporate land acknowledgement agenda, item of the council agenda, and incorporate land acknowledgement statement as part of the agenda cover page and all Canadian members.
Yeah, I sort of,
Is that correct? Does that itemize it where?
Which one or two?
Like, for instance, with option 2, it would be read at the start of the council meeting. And then it would just, for committee days, it would just be incorporated in the cover page, but it wouldn't necessarily be read at the start of the meeting.
Yeah, okay, that's the way we do it at counties too. It's only read on council. It's only read on council. Okay. Okay, it's already passed, so maybe we can discuss it again at council, but it's through committee at this point, right? So, okay. All right, then we are on to the tandem truck. Who's gonna speak to is it gonna be Chris? Sorry.
Okay, thank you for Mr. Mayor. So through the chair, tonight's action item in front of you is to review the tender results with the recommendation to reissue the tender. So council authorized a pre-budget tender for procurement of a new 5-ton and axle plow truck. Tender was developed and issued on March 5th, 2024. That posted notice on the township website. And was sent out to non-tender packages were sent out directly to potential proponents. One bid was received by the PPM bid run on April 2nd, 2024. The results were as follows. Abby Schmidt, Canada. Total tender price with HST included, $425,324.06. Township staff reviewed the bid received for the 5-ton cabin chassis, by Abby Schmidt, which was within the budgetary threshold. The bidder was unsuccessful in meeting specifications set out in the tender documents. And detailed outline specifications on the next page.
Definitely. Okay, I'll open it to the floor first. Chris?
no, I mean, I guess it's too, it was just, I didn't like the price was higher and it didn't get our specifications, and I think was a large part of that because the engine was too big an engine. Was that the main thrust on the cost difference? Yeah, so, cause I looked at that and I sort of thought, like, it's more than we need, that's fair. And then I didn't, so as far as other differences go, is it like, I mean, it doesn't matter, actually, I didn't like the price, like I said, and I thought it was because of the engine, so the rest of the questions don't matter for that, but it was more, you know, was it close except for the engine, or was it not? So, no, it's not even a question, don't worry about it.
I just got a question. How that many things could not be done right?
It's not too much.
Through the chair,
But it's not
this
too
truck is already built, sitting on the, probably built from someone else.
Oh, I see, okay, so you didn't, okay, I
Well,
Have we dealt with these guys? Have we dealt with, I don't recall this in my time here as anybody we've dealt with before. Okay. And so I'm gonna look to this side. And I'll ask this carefully because I don't want it to be interpreted the wrong way. Was it anything to do with a tender process that may have prevented people from bidding on it? Like, do we have every method short of carrier pigeons? For them to submit bids and to submit entries that are modern and equal to 2024 requirements? Or are we looking at, you've got to deliver a document, something like that? Like, I'm just,
Through the mayor, I would say that, so some of it had to do with timing of when the tender was out and, the ability for, some of the bidders to secure some pricing with respect to the material to actually, we'll call it, build the truck to the specification that we're looking, for. Some of that follow-up has been done. There was also a circumstance where one of the companies that have been in the past was in the process of getting purchased, and they were unable to submit bids during that window. So I think based on some of those factors, by going out, we will hopefully receiving some additional submissions that are actually that will meet the design specifications that we're looking for. The vehicle is a little bit unique with respect to sort of a shorter turning radius. It's still a tandem, but you know, the function a little bit better, say in Johnstown or some of those other areas, you know, as opposed to a bigger highway vehicle.
okay, so. So we. For our process, it wasn't indicated by any of the. Usual bidders or the bidders that our process is. Like wasn't anything. To do with not being able to submit online or anything of that nature?
Through the bureau, certainly, public works manager speak a little bit more on it, but from some of the follow-up conversations with respect to that, it was more timing and securing of materials and a few other factors than it really is about our process.
I don't want to get into the weeds.
Yeah, so to
It's,
speak,
you guys do
I
the
think-
documents, I'm asking a question of, is it time to modernize those policies too? That's more what my, is this a result of, you know, low amounts of tenders?
I would say that the tendering process is fine in the way that it is. I don't see this as a tendering process issue.
Okay.
This particular circumstance.
It's fine, it's fine. I just want to make sure.
Yep.
Yeah, you hear it, right?
Yeah, and so is this truck like so different from the one we're taking possession of any day now, essentially? Or, you know, the one that we're getting 2024, is this a totally different truck than that, or is that so? Or is it the lead time that causes, so there's gotta be something why the company that's doing this one didn't quote on it, I guess, is what I'm trying to figure out. So,
Chair, so the truck is different, it's a little bit smaller. Meanwhile, size wise, plow, one that plows you with The angle. This finally will request assume that. Also requesting that. So front and back. Loose in front. So the back and bring a 50-40 angle. Send over. And then eliminate all relevant conditions. Trying to find out graph this.
Okay, those are important factors for sure, so, okay, that's fair. Yeah, good. Okay.
So. The recommendation is that council direct staff to reissue the 5-ton plus related snow plow equipment tender. ECPW 24-05 for the opportunity for competitive pricing. So. Was it, the only other question that I guess I would have then is it was indicated that the timing wasn't right. Is the timing right now, or are we waiting until the fall to reissue, or are we, what's the thought?
On an initial thought, it is probably like, end of April, early May, as a reasonable time to sort of reissue the standard.
And with an expectation of delivery, is it gonna be 52 months? Are we gonna get it in May then again? Because I guess my thought is if it's delivered in 52 months, why not buy it in September or October? That's just my thought. Because then you're not paying for it until you actually need it. On the or 52 weeks, not 52 months, not 52 months. Yeah. The next Kermit Council. The next Kermit Council, maybe the one after that.
I did understand a lot of. I would say that there is a great deal of variability with respect to the delivery of the unit, where we're already over that timeline now with this particular unit. So I think the earlier that we can get the vehicle order on timeline, the better.
Was excuse my ignorance, was the plan for this one to be in service for the start of next winter?
For this upcoming winter.
So it's not for this upcoming, winter, it'd be the one after.
It would be in 2025.
I'm not gonna tell you how to do. We know how to do it. I just. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. I'm good.
So this, with the last truck that we're getting soon, wasn't that was 12 months or 52 weeks? That was, I think it was a year and a half, wasn't it? For the income on that one? I feel like it was more than a year ago. 58 months, I'm sure now.
I believe that was in January. So yes, we were probably looking at about 52-week deliveries. We're looking for December, early January. We are now April. We may receive that money in April, so that's why we're looking at it. We're in April, May, 52 weeks. If we have a little bit more of an extended time period, hopefully we can be ready to go September, October of 2025 from that.
Okay. This one was on the lot, right? Somebody just didn't take it. Like if we wanted this one tomorrow, we could buy it, have it. Okay. And that's not the norm though, right? Like there's still a wait time for these, like what we're anticipating, like Rush isn't sitting on 5 trucks back there, right? Yeah, okay. Okay. I'm fine. 100%. Oh, wait, I've read it. I haven't had a move for a second. So moved second. That's final. I 100% support this. It's very rare. I don't know if we've ever not in all the time reissued or not accepted. This feels, I mean, I know it's not within what we dollar value or what we want for equipment, so it doesn't meet specifications in the first place, but this feels different to your issue.
In fairness, it is a little bit unique in the sense that the issue to meet certain specifications and
Nobody met it.
we had a single bid that didn't actually meet the, some of those core specifications. Like I get why they submitted it, they had a vehicle, if it worked, it worked. It just, it doesn't align, and that's the reality. So, yeah, it is a little, unique, for sure.
Good enough. Moved and seconded, further discussion. Seeing none, I'll call the question, all in favor? Done. Councillor inquiries, notice of motion. Anybody got an inquiry or notice of motion?
I have one,
Go ahead.
through the chair to CEO. I had, an email from the February 6th delegation that was there with the concern about the discharge of firearms. We had left it, that we were gonna do some inquiries on that. They're just looking for a status on.
Before you speak to that, I just want to add a tiny bit. I am still included in those emails under much reflection. When those conversations come back again, I'm going to excuse myself from the discussion just for the potentiality of conflict, the conflict of interest. I think the proximity and the potential for me to be thrown into a conflict, whether I believe it is or not, it's whether there's a perception that there's a conflict. And, you know, I certainly don't want to lose what I've worked so hard to build on a reputational or a perceived conflict of interest to do something with my own back here. So I will remove myself from that conversation moving forward.
Through the mayor, we have reached out to a number of agencies for their input and feedback. We are still waiting on one or two. I believe the plan is to hopefully have something on committee.
Nice.
Thank you. I will get back to the residents.
You'll take that over. I'll on it, but I
Wise decision.
have not commented back since I've excused myself, so. Any further notices or inquiries? Good input, Joe. None, so then mayor's report, I don't really have a report, but what I do want to say to our staff, I mean, today was one of those holy crap days. Like, I've never seen township roads as busy as they were. I mean, I've never seen a solar eclipse like that either, but I've never seen, you know, I know Mike, you were, you know, that was a hard job. I would not have wanted to have been posted where you were today. But I will say, fantastic, right? Like, as hard as it may have been, I think through the emergency meetings that, you know, the CAO put on and that, the emergency management committee meeting, we certainly talked about it for months and months of what could happen. And thankfully, the only thing that happened was a fantastic day and a fantastic event that was staffed and managed as well as it possibly could have been by our staff, by the OPP, by our volunteer firemen, by everyone involved. And I just, you know, I want to say thank you. We often don't say it enough to the staff that does such a good job. And I came over and talked to you today while you were there, and because I didn't want to, for sure, but I, you know, and any of the guys that are the employees that I saw working, I certainly went and said, you know, hi, and how's it going, and thank you, and fantastic job, right? And so I just want to say that again on the record, and you know, that proud of the work that went into it, the behind the scenes work that went into all of those meetings in preparation, and I hope that some of those folks, I mean, everybody that I saw down at that Legion area, it was jammed full. There were a lot of families there. It was fantastic to see so many kids and so many young families, and I didn't recognize a lot of them, which which is even more heartening to think that a lot of them came from Ottawa, that came from out of the area, and hopefully, in my conversations with a few of them around, they'll come back. You know, they had no idea how beautiful our waterfront in our area was, and they certainly thought it was fantastic with the hospitality today. So again, thanks to staff, great job. All around, I think everyone did fantastic work.
Yeah, but if I just may,
Absolutely.
I can't speak enough of the frontline deployment of all of our staff, today. Certainly, we did, sort of emphasize, a lot of our resources, south of the 401, where we had anticipated the bulk of the traffic tonight. We were, a bit surprised with the volume of activity, within Spencerville. But I would say that we adapted, well. And I would think that, those that were in the Spencerville area during that, leading up to and during that event will have a similar takeaway, as they did in Cardinal, Johnstown, in that whole area, that, it was a welcoming, community, well organized in a number of facets. And, I think that although there was probably some debate on whether, to what degree that we advertised, I think by not setting that expectation and allowing that flow to happen naturally, helped us from a capacity standpoint to have a more successful day.
Well, and I would echo that, and I would echo that all along our area, you know, Prescott, you know, Augusta, Elizabethtown, and Elizabethtown didn't have any major things on. Brockville, you know, fantastic job to all of the crews along the way. I have heard of and Brockville even had a fire this morning, which, you know, was one of those emergency discussions, right, that we went through, and what ifs, you know, and I know that we were fantastically prepared. But I think what showed off was our area, our township, how great it is and how wonderful our staff is. So, you know, home run, well done. Question period. Oh, gosh, we have someone. All right, thank you. All right, and we do not have a closed session, no closed, and so then I need a motion for adjournment. Moved by Chris, seconded by Councilor Smale, all in favor? That conversation takes